Hi everyone, I'm Leanne. This is Left Field Farm Girl. I decided to begin recording videos a little bit earlier in the growing season this year than I did last year. I started this channel a year ago just as a way to share the progress of our garden with our family and our friends. And the reason for that they didn't just come and see the garden, is that we live full-time quite a distance away from where our garden is located. We live permanently, or more or less permanently, in a suburb of Vancouver, BC, in Canada. And our property where we garden and where we spend our summers is about 430 kilometers, or I think roughly about 270 miles away in the south central area of BC. It's about a 5-hour drive. So because they're so far apart and because we're not there all the time, there's a few challenges to getting a lot of plants into a garden and having them be at a stage where they're really ready to start producing. So I thought I would start this season off with showing you how we get our seedlings started, preparing them for planting and eventually getting them ready for transportation. So let's start with where we start our seeds. Okay, so we're now in the middle of May, but sometime in the beginning of February and March and even April, just depending on what it is we're getting started, this is where we do it. It's in the garage. It's kind of tucked in a bit of a corner, but my husband, my farmer, he built this little station, and he, to be perfectly honest, is the one who does all the seed starting and much of the variety choosing of all of our vegetables. So this frame that he built here has a shelf on the bottom with a heating pad and 2 grow lights. Right now there's not a lot starting in there, but there's some herbs and there's a few tomatoes. Generally by March that would be completely full, and this one up here as well would be completely full, and that light would be on. I think the bottom tray holds about 4 trays, and probably just, I mean, you could get 4 on the top, but they wouldn't be all underneath the lights very evenly. So anyway, that's where they get started. We just got a hold of them. The sound is terrible, but we have one of these emergency safety space blankets that come in a lot of first aid kits, and we just drape it over the top. It keeps a lot of the heat inside. It reflects the sun, the grow light back onto it, and just seems to protect them, intensify the little experience of being in the mini greenhouse. So that's where they get started. When they're ready to be potted up, they either get potted here in the garage or outside. This is a group of peppers that have all gone up into bigger pots, and they're only in here right now because the weather's been really rainy and they were a bit tired of being soaked. So let's go outside and I'll show you some of the other starts. Sometimes we run out of space inside, and the plants still need a little bit of protecting, but we're ready to start putting in more seedlings, and they're ready to be potted up and they need to be moved. So on occasion we will use the potting shed. It doesn't get sunlight kind of early enough in the day, but somewhere around 1 o'clock or so the sun comes around, and for the rest of the day it is in some pretty direct sunlight. So I'll show you inside. So this is just another space where we can add some light, we can add some heat, and we can control and give them a little bit of protection. So this is another group of tomatoes, and they had a bit of a rough start, but they're looking pretty good right now. Probably when we start to plant these into the ground, that's when I'll get my farmer husband to go through the varieties and talk about why we selected what we selected. But Anyway, there is space for another shelf down below, and there's even one up top if we really need to. But this is just sort of an intermediate protected area for them. Once the weather is nice and warm and we're ready to try hardening them off a little bit, then they just literally come out to the backyard and we start putting trays of them wherever we can find space. So there's some bigger tomatoes, and there's some cucumbers. Over here is some more tomatoes and some hot peppers. They'll sit on the hot tub. They'll sit on top of those wooden frames over there. They'll sit on the table. They'll sit over on that one. Wherever we can find space and give them the sun that they want, that's where they go. Over here, we've got more tomatoes and marigolds for just helping to pollinate. We got some zucchinis and more cucumbers. Geraniums we use as pollinating flowering plants as well. So as you can see, at this stage of the game, it's really all about tomatoes. It's all about peppers, and it's about cucumbers and zucchinis. Now, the peppers and the tomatoes are going to stay here probably till the end of June and be planted somewhere in the beginning of July or the end of June. But the cucumbers and the zucchinis are all going to come with us on a little road trip, and they're going to get planted in the ground the end of May. And at that time we'll also try direct sowing a few things. So that's how Left Field Farm gets started. About 5 hours away in a suburban backyard. We get all of our seeds started, we pamper them, we baby them, we move them around, we harden them up a little bit, and before you know it, they're ready to make the road trip and end up in a 5-acre property 5 hours away. There are 2 distinct different planting zones from where they get started to where they end up. So they start off in a much more moderate climate and end up somewhere where they have a little bit shorter growing season, a little bit harsher temperatures. And so it does involve a bit of timing and a little bit of manipulating to make sure that they're not overly shocked by the time they end up where they're going to spend their life growing. But that's why there's often many steps and stages to getting them from here to there. And once they're there, until we're there full time, they're on their own. So they get watered when it rains and they don't when it doesn't. So there's lots of challenges to it, but we've been doing it for a couple of years now. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. I will keep updating videos on how the rest of our summer progresses. I will show you how we pack everything up and how we get it moved up there. Probably my next video will be when we're putting all of our squashes and zucchinis in the ground and direct sowing. And I hope that you enjoy following along. Thanks for watching.